This video is an interview with John-Marc Grob, who is an old art school friend of mine. He's an animator, illustrator, and this is going to be of particular interest to art students and artists that like to tell story. I think that's safe to say. And this will be a two-part video, and we're going to kind of start at the beginning. We're going to go back to art school in Dover, New Jersey, which has been a long time ago.
Yes. Yeah.
If you'd like to say a few words about your interest in art at a young age, you kind of move into that, that's fine, or we'll jump right into art school.
Now we'll just jump right into the Kubert School. We'll miss my whole time period as a kid. I was always interested in art from first grade on. I knew I wanted to be an artist. Not really until later on, a cartoonist and an animator and so forth. But that's what brought me to the Kubert School, as well as you.
Describe the school to me. Like, what were classes like for you?
Interesting enough is when you were in high school, one of the first things that you try to do is figure out what college you're going to be going to, attending, and seeing. I checked out Pratt University, Cooper University in New York City, a lot of other ones nationwide. Then I was introduced to the Kubert School, which was only 3 miles from my house, so which made it really nice. But it wasn't the distance; it was the teachers and the faculty that was there. What gravitated to my attention was our old teacher, Milt Neal. When he was the animator for Disney in the early 30s and 40s, I was like, whoa, I got a teacher that actually worked with Disney, that knows animation, and a lot of other artists, teachers that were there working their career. For me, that was the big plug up. Basically, I said, you know what? If I go to a college, I'm going to be learning from somebody that's teaching me or whatever. But here I got professionals that are in the industry.
The first year,
that was boot camp.
Yeah, boot camp, foundational material, and
we had
walk us through that.
Yeah, we had like 370 kids, and it was a 3-year school. Do you remember how many actually graduated? The first month they were dropping.
Yeah, well, one of the things I remember was the school at times was a little more lax, especially moving into the second year.
Yes,
and unlike my situation at a public high school, we had autonomy. Students would go out and smoke on the steps if they didn't want to sit through long figure drawing classes.
Yeah.
And the discipline it took to stay on it, and then when students started looking around and feeling like they weren't doing well, then of course they just opted out and headed home.
Yes, yeah, there too. The first year, I agree with that. The first year was more like a boot camp. The assignments were a lot challenging. Some of the teachers, we were up to like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning finishing up these assignments, and you had them back to back. Yes, I do agree with you. With the second year, it was more laid back. I think that is also due to a combination of the age, because a lot of the kids that were going there were in their 20s and in their 40s and everything in between. And then you had the demographics where some kids just wanted to have that freedom. Look, artists, tell me any artists that you know that can really stick behind a time schedule, that have that flexibility as a business person mindset. It's not there. That's not a right thing or a wrong thing. It's a wrong thing. Artists should be more disciplined, and they should stick to their guns and adhere to their studies, no matter where you go. You can see out of the school that we graduate the kids who stuck by it, where they are. The ones who were kind of relaxed, daisical ones, they never succeeded.
Students see all the resources that are available online with YouTube and so on, and art books, and they say, why would I spend the money to go to art school when I can just go through all these tutorials and so on?
Great question. And I get that at times right now too. And when I actually mentor a lot of kids and I share my background with parents that were thinking about sending their kids to college or to an art school, or exactly what you're saying, online right now, the thing what you miss out is that hands-on training. When a teacher is overlooking you, they could quickly come to teaching you and say, oh, did you try this technique or try that or whatever? You're just watching a snippet of their lesson on video or whatever, but you're not going to get that hands-on when you are there with the teacher and the teacher is actually teaching us stuff. Because right now I teach like a little class down the street, and I have maybe like 2 or 3 kids at a time that I'm teaching. And now the videos that I'm teaching right now on YouTube are nothing compared to what they're getting hands-on. The 1-hour lesson that they get is like a week's version of YouTube, but they're getting hands-on. Like, oh, you're doing this the wrong way. Let me show you. And now they understand it. So that hands-on is phenomenal. No matter what career,
Well,
what,
your teaching videos for kids are a lot of fun, but I hear what you're saying. By seeing what they're doing and being able to look over their shoulder, you can give them feedback that they're not.
You're not going to get feedback online. You can't, no matter what it is. I mean, we're not doing reading and writing and arithmetic. Okay, we're doing like biology. Okay, you know, when you pick this up and you're dissecting an animal, well, that's the same thing with art. Did you know when you take the brush this way or move it this way or move the paper? A lot of times when I'm teaching art, it's hysterical. The kids are moving their body as if the paper is like 100 pounds. Move the paper, right? Move the paper.
Right.
You know, because they see the videos, they're not being done that way. Because online, there's still images and you see the person's hand so the paper doesn't turn upside down. When we were animators, we had the animation wheel, remember? We're spinning it around.
Yeah.
So a simple little tool like that where the kids can't pick up, where a teacher could jump right in and say, hey, try this.
So if you could put yourself back to 15, 16 years old, how would you approach fortifying your skills at that age? What are things that you feel like you were a little weak on going into art school that you would beef up on?
The same thing right now, even more so, sketching. Okay, using your imagination, taking that time and spending an hour a day, no matter what time of day it is, and just taking your sketchbook out and sketching whatever you see, no matter what career you are as an artist, a graphic designer, a comic book and animator, a fashion designer. Kids don't know how to sketch anymore. That's what I've noticed right now, because how they're sketching is almost like they're learning from the videos again that we're just talking, and they're just drawing these lines here. It's like connecting the dots. I'm like, no, you got to learn how to sketch. Let your hands just be creative.
You finished the Kubert School. Walk us through your journey into animation. What did that look like?
Well, the one thing that was different from going to college to a trade school is the teachers, as you might be aware, they were hiring us on jobs when we were in first, second, and third grade. So when I was in second at the Kubert School, I was already doing stuff with pretty much like with Milt, but then some animation and some advertisement stuff, because we did for the Bud Ball, for Pee Wee Herman. And then for my teacher, Milt, we were doing this stuff with Pele, teaching kids how to play soccer. So right out of the second year, I had the whole summer there. The third year, I had the whole summer year. It was really interesting is to see how business was actually done, because you had to go in and out of the city. You had to be there at a certain time, you know, so you kind of had, it was like a Mod Podge. Basically, it's kind of hard to really say for the second and third year, you're like all over the place. And then as soon as you graduate, you can actually land your first time job, or are you freelancing? That's the two things that you can really emphasize as an artist. Are you freelancing all the time, or are you looking for a job full time? Well, when I was back then, the biggest thing was trying to find a job. And when you're following that job, you're realizing they're only going to hire you for 1 week or 2 weeks or 3 months, and then you're out the door because you're in animation and they only need you for so long. That even was Disney. Disney wanted to hire me down in Florida to be in the Universal, in that think tank, and I'd be animating and the people walking around you. I'm like, no, that ain't me. I'm like, I'm not in a fish in the fishbowl. I didn't feel comfortable with that. So I stayed local, and I did a lot of freelancing for a lot of little programs here and there for the Tiny Toons, a lot of little commercials here and there. And I got a gig doing desktop publishing at Unicorn Publishing. And when that was just down the street too, again, for me. I was like a nice option. That's where I got to re-meet again the Hildebrandt brothers. That was Greg Hildebrandt and Tim. I was like, again, I'm learning desktop publishing, computer graphics. And I got in the back room, Greg Hildebrandt, who's painting there all the time. At lunchtime, I'm sitting down there talking to him, and he's teaching me techniques and color and everything. I'm like, okay, I'm in.
Yeah.
So
for viewers not familiar with the Hildebrandt brothers, of course, they did the Star Wars poster that's very famous and lots of
yes. The very, very first poster that was designed for Star Wars, the two brothers did. And the story goes is they had 1 week to do that one. One started on one side, one started on the other side, and they met in the middle.
They met at Princess Leia's hair, right?
Right.
personal note, like for me, working on the Pele project was what
Yeah.
pushed me out of animation. And I realized then I'm like, I'm done after that second year, and I went off to work at a TV station, and then I did some computer animation, and then I'm like, I lost the love of making things move. I mean, I understood the love because I had it, and then it was gone. But to talk about graphic design, was this the transition into graphic design work for you?
Sure. So the overlay, like I really want to share with a lot of kids and artists in a sense, is don't stick into one area of art. Because as soon as you do that, whenever that area is not necessarily if you're freelancing or looking for a full-time job is not available, you're stuck. You got no job. So be like a chameleon as an artist, I say. So learning animation was great. Learning the graphic design was even better because graphic design was so popular back then. And there's so much work, even right now. I always had work. So there was never a moment that I didn't have work or I could have freelance or full-time job. Animation is like a hit and miss, basically.
Yeah.
You're not going to always have the job all the time. So my freelancing was always animation for that per se. So when I went into the graphic design, this is in the very beginning when the Mac was just coming out. I had a Mac since 1984. We graduated from the Kubert School in 1988. I was always interested in the technology, so that really drove me to continue to learn the process of the computer, the programs, and then the Kuberts hired me to teach nighttime classes and then daytime classes on the computer. So I was teaching there for 4 years, night and daytime classes, the desktop publishing, the basic programs from Illustrator, freehand back then, and Photoshop at the same time.
Well, here's what listeners don't realize is how little computers were part of our life. Because at the art school, there was a computer in the corner that nobody touched for animation. And you remember Milt said computers will never be a big part of animation. he said two things I like to quote: Japanese will never make great animation, and computers will never be a big part of animation. And I haven't seen these since I produced these back in.
Was that for a second?
Back working at the TV station, but
yes,
I showed this to students and they say, "What is it? You could kill someone with this thing." But this is a few minutes of animation and computer graphics and computer animation that I haven't seen for years, and I prefer not to because I think it's better in my head than if I actually saw the wire framing, which we were like wire framing, like how cool is that? Right?
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah.
So I've got 2 of these, and I keep them as a joke. I don't want to see what's on them, but the technology that kids have with their phone compared to what we were using, it's so much different. So
but exactly what you're saying is from the graphic design point now. So when I was working at the Unicorn Publishing, graphic design, desktop publishing, that was all new. Service bureaus, printing. I'm learning a whole new industry at the same time. Not only am I learning film, the old-fashioned film where we had to go to New York City to get it developed and then come back because there was nothing digital. Now the computer stepped in. It was still film. We still had to go to a pre-press operator to process the film to make the books, and then go to the printers and then get it print up. So I learned that all that behind me, which was great because now understanding that to the computer right now is another tool. You hit that note that I really say computer is a tool. Nowadays kids are missing out of what we learned. We had no computer, so we had to do paste and mechanical the old-fashioned way. We had to get our hands dirty, ink and painting the old-fashioned way. You should learn traditionally as an artist as well as paste and mechanical before jumping on the computer. You're missing out on understanding how mixing a color, airbrushing, come on, that overspray and underspray, cutting it out and everything. That was a lot of work. Nowadays they have no understanding.
Well, I love the fact you just used the word paste up a mechanic, which again.
How you had to take those letters for each magazine. We had to snip out and put them in there. That was hard.
That's what I did at the TV station. Is I'd cut out the text. I'd go get a stat from the stat house, bring it back.
Right. The stat house. With
half-tone sheet to get the So Unicorn. So I bought a series of books from Greg Hildebrandt. He was illustrating Treasure Island, Peter Pan, and they were
Yes,
like
yeah,
small books. I don't know. They
yeah,
must
yeah,
have probably, did they do both? Did they do a larger?
yeah,
I
yeah.
have a whole set of the small books.
The small books were actually for Sears and at the gas stations. That's what they
Oh,
designed.
okay.
They had the bigger ones, and we just truncated them down smaller,
Oh,
and we just put
okay.
them in a Christmas fun pack
Oh yeah,
and
those were
everything.
fun. I bought them at a bookstore, and I have friends that were models for some of those people's
Yes,
characters.
yes, yes. Yeah, when I look at there, I can see Gene and Joe Scrocco, and a lot of
Okay.
the editors and other people are in there. Yeah, yeah, because that's how they actually work. They always
Yeah,
took a picture of people that they know to get the
yeah,
lighting and that model in
yeah.
regards. Yeah, it was fun.
So, how much of you are you still doing quite a bit of graphic design? Is that still part of your practice?
Yes, over 30 plus, over 37 years of graphic design, nonstop. I've worked for AT&T, M&M Mars, food industry, Red Devil. I was the senior and the only graphic designer, so anything and everything that was coming out of Red Devil, which is not the paint and the vacuum cleaner. That's not them. It's all the tool and that are supplies in the stores. They have over 2,500 products that they actually build now. That's also caulking and sealants that they had. So you had Ace Hardware, Sears, Monroe's, all these other companies. All their product was Red Devils, and so I had
Hmm.
to redo all their labeling and everything. So one of the things that I enjoyed is growing up. Let me take another side step was photography. I enjoyed photography, and it's still part of my life and everything. And that's a big thing. Plus, being able to photograph and understand photography, because now when I was at Unicorn, I was able to take photo shoots and take stuff for advertisement, so we didn't have to go outside. Places like Red Devil, amongst a lot of other places I've worked for, my photography skills came hands down all the time. I could do photo shoots inside and take the stills and create packaging stuff. So
Sure.
that's why I try to really share, be a chameleon. Just don't be a pencil or an artist or one area. Diversify yourself as an artist. So understanding graphic designs, I grew into desktop publishing, new troubleshooting programming. Then I also jumped into the photography. So the aspect. So next thing you know, I'm doing the video, I'm doing the animation, I'm doing the entire package for trade shows for them. At a trade show booth company called Jersey Skylines, where you make booths for conventions.
Yeah.
That was boring.
Yeah, I had to do some set designs for the TV station, and they dealt with political, things and whatever. And yeah, that's not one of my favorite things I've done.
Yeah,
What are some illustration jobs? Have you done some illustration for books?
everything from when I'm doing stuff for the advertising agencies. Sometimes you have to use your illustration when you're doing the package design, and we had to do one for Gold Star, and it was it was for this new 3DO game that never came out, but we had to do the whole package design. So we had like this little character that was a brain inside,
Okay.
holding his actual the controller, and we had to design all that was all illustration and graphic design combination. So being a cartoonist and an artist, in some areas we had the whole thing packaged for Campbell Soup. I did a lot of stuff for them for Campbell Soup for their product based on their Red Devil. Still use some of my creativity and illustration in their product, even though they're not cartoons or anything. You can still do it in the industrial part. I could say almost every aspect of my career, my cartoon was always utilized in all those companies, believe it or
Got
not.
it. Friend Fish, talk about that project. Where did that come from, and where's it at? Where's it going?
As an artist, you're always working on other projects and coming up with other proposals with people. So you're always trying to partner with people. I was a guest artist at New York Comic Con for 3 years, been there for 7 years, and we're always working with one another, with bouncing off ideas and so forth. So that's how my brain is always working and running. You're always trying to think of a new idea, a new little feel. Well, back in 2006, this is when it initially started. My father was passing away,
Hmm.
and he was dying and everything. And one of the things that leaving the hospital at the time and just walking out, this whole thing just came in my head in an instant. So I was like, wow. I was like walking down. I'm like, okay, one thing right up is where Friend Fish comes into the whole play right now. Friend Fish, when my father was passing away, again, he was a chef, so he traveled the world. So one of the areas that he loved that was down in the Bahamas. So it's a chef down there, and he loved saltwater fish. So I don't know why, but that just came in my head at that moment. Friend fish, it's a symbolism of friendship, and it's in an aquarium, and they're all orphans, and all the little characters. This whole little thing in a matter of 5 minutes, just like wrapped my head. I was like spinning around. I had to go home and take down all my notes and do some stuff. And then from that point, yeah, I know, you know what I'm trying to say.
Oh yeah.
And from that point on, it was just spearheading one right after the other, and the creativity juices were just like flowing tremendously. I got a group of people that were helping me develop. We were going to do CGI first. We did a couple tests like that, and I'm like, I like the old school traditional animation for many reasons. You get the animation of the stretch and squash versus just stiffness in there, and it's a nostalgia look and feel. I like that a lot better. So for the past, I want to say 10 years or so, we actually transitioned from doing the CGI to more of a traditional animation art. From that point on, what happened was crazy. On Facebook, in a matter of 13 months, my fan base went from 1 to like 150,000 like overnight. It just like shot up. And I went, what the heck was that all about? And I'm not pushing it. I'm not really promoting it or anything, or like social media stuff or anything. So I had to slow that down. I reached out to a lot of other corporate. One of the things, another side note, one of the biggest thing our artists fail to do is network. You need to network with non-artists. You need to network with business people, stores, manufacturers. That's what I had always done, like with Milt. Back then, Milt is the one that opened up that door. Joe Kubert was the one that opened up that door. When you really see those people, what made them successful, also the Hildebrandt, Greg Hildebrandt, is because of Jean Scrocco, how she helped him in the business. So when I watch not just the art, I'm also paying attention to the business sense. So my network as an artist was not just artists, but also businessmen, also stores and organizations. So when I had this idea, I started to present it to them. They loved it. They wanted it. Back in 2016, a company down in Arizona hired me to do some tattoos and artwork and for them, and all faith-based material too. So I did a whole campaign for them with my faith base and my friend fish. We went to Walmart. Seeing Walmart is much harder than seeing the president of the United States to get an appointment nowadays. So we got an appointment to go to Walmart. Their company was the #1 tattoo company in the country. So they had all the brand license from Warner Brothers to Disney to Marvel. You name it. They had all the top brand. We get to the meeting. It was at 8:30. The guy sent us to the wrong building. There's 2 offices for that. So we're like, it's like either you're in or you're out. It's that bad. So it's like we get into this little office space and they're like, no, this is our time. We're at 8:30. It's like, which office? And we're like, what do you mean? And they're like, you're in the other office. And we're like, we missed our appointment. That same day, luckily, we got a chance to get it at the end of the day at 4. So we're nervous. You get all pumped up, your adrenaline, you get in there. It's at the end of the day, we're like, oh, bum. We get in there. The company presents all their license brand. The lady's looking it all over, just flipping the books. Okay, nice. I'm sitting in the back corner with my friend fish tie on with some of my merchandise behind me. She picks up her chair, looks at me, and she goes, tell me more about your stuff. So I explained to them about the faith-based stuff and the friend fish. She goes, do you have it on the DVD? I'm like, no, I'm trying to work on it. She goes, we would buy it all. That was not one out of a dozen stories that I could really tell you in my entire career as an artist. The same year, several months later, Dollar General, 13,000 stores nationwide, they wanted the whole faith base and with the friend fish stuff too. So we were negotiating with all that. Again, large company. My point to explaining this is, being an artist, you got to really network with corporation and businesses and other people that are in there. That's where I partner with this one guy right now. He's managing my stuff and he's actually meeting with his boss and his boss, and the potential of this to take off right now is really right there. So we're at the verge of taking it to a full line series. Now, saying that, where we are, Netflix, PureFlix, Uplift TV, they all want my series. I just have to produce it. That's it. And then I know.
Yeah. So do you have the stories and storyboards ready?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Okay.
yeah. Not just the story, but we're turning it into a series. Like the first one is 22 minutes long, and thereafter the 22 minutes, we're going to turn it into like little shorts, like the old-fashioned Bugs Bunny, where they
Oh
were
yeah.
like, so you can mix them up. So it's not like the kids start to show in the first. I'm like, oh, I've seen this one, I don't want it. I liked how Bugs Bunny, Tom Jerry, and all the other ones, they could switch it, and you never
Sure.
knew which one was coming.
Do you want to learn how to draw this cartoon Godzilla? I'm John-Marc, and I'm going to show you in these several steps. Alright, in these next few steps, you're going to see what I did to color it. The first thing I actually did is I laid down some halftones throughout the entire Godzilla character, kind of where the shadows and the dark areas to the highlights. And then I added some cool blues and little greens throughout the layers and built upon that, and a little bit some of the outlines for some of the highlights. And then from here I took to the background, and I had the background quickly laid out, and some of the background I overlaid on top of Godzilla on the top. Consistently, I'm going to be looking to build up more on top of it, as you'll follow up with the white highlight underneath Godzilla, the backside, and then I've made it really hot and some highlights here and there. A little bit more, taking some detail. Now the next step, I even took it further with the highlights. As you'll see, I went throughout the entire character, and I just built upon where the light source that I envisioned from the top left hand corner shining down on him. And for the very last thing, I added some reds throughout the character, as you can see, around his eyes and his belly and his arms and his legs, just to give a little bit more darker shadowing and a different tone altogether. And thanks for checking out this video lesson, and I hope you enjoyed it. Have a great day. Here's step 1. And here's step 2. And here's the final third step. Hey, it's John-Marc, and thanks for checking out this video lesson, and I hope you enjoyed it. Have a great day. Step 1. And here's step 2. And here's the final third step. Hey, it's John-Marc, and thanks for checking out this video lesson, and I hope you enjoyed it. Have a great day.